Hello, Elemental Growth Tribe. This is Ashley here, and today we're going to talk about getting clear on your goals. Going to talk about grounding into those goals and making sure that you're creating actionable steps to get you there and to create your own path. And we're also going to talk about our seasonal food guide, which is available to you in our group, which is called actually the one in Facebook is called Be the Change Book. That's where you're going to want to go. If you're a paid member, you're going to want to go to the Summer Love group. Either way, this information is available to you, and I'm just going to dig a little bit deeper today. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, to reach out to me directly by tech support or direct message. All right, you guys, so let's get started. Talking about clarity, this is something that does take a little bit of time. It's not always the easiest thing for everyone, but when you take that time to go inside what it is that you really want. By the feelings that you have when, let's say, you're looking at someone and you start judging them, or that there's maybe a jealousy there, or even an anger of something that you don't understand. Maybe you would do something a little bit differently if you were in their circumstance. Those are all messages from yourself and your emotional body to that there's something there, that there's something that you want, or something that you're longing for, or maybe even your inner child is longing for or trying to tell you. So take those messages and take some time to journal and track when these emotions and things like that are going to come up, because the more in tune you are with yourself, the more clear that you're going to be, and the more that you accept those parts of yourselves and try to optimize those areas that are maybe lacking or maybe associated with negative emotions, the happier and more clear you're going to be. So let's talk about grounding into these emotions a little bit, or not emotions, sorry, and goals. So to ground into the goals, you want to make SMART goals. This is simple, measurable, achievable, and realistic, and timelined or timely, whichever. So that's the way that you want to create a SMART goal. And the best way to do this is to just write SMART down on a piece of paper in your journal or something like that. Pick 1 to 3 goals and write down the steps in that order. Remember, numbers are so important because they help us measure our success, so that we can celebrate those successes, so that we can create that momentum that we need to reach even bigger goals. And of course, if it is a large goal, a big one that you have on that list, like for me, for example, it's van life. I am living in the city right now. It's not exactly where I'd like to be, but I'm making the most out of it, and I always do. And I'm taking this time to get my business off the ground, to get Finn used to traveling, and also to save a little bit of money so I can do it the way that I want to do it and not just rush into it, because this is something very important to me. And I not only want to make sure that I'm prepared for my son and all that, but I also want to make sure that it can be enjoyable, which does take some prep work in the meantime. And it takes a lot of research to figure out what kind of trailers I want if I go that way or whatever. So the way that I've broken this up into actionable steps is that I need to find a mentor. So I connected with somebody in my local community just recently, actually, who has done a lot of training in building these kind of homes on the road. He's done a lot of traveling, calls himself a world traveler, and he's actually in my area, so I'm very, very fortunate for that. And so that was one actionable step that I was able to take since Summer Love began. And I gave myself a timeline. I was gonna ask in this first week. So think about things like that, you know, because it's those small things that actually create the momentum to make the bigger things possible, because sometimes they seem so impossible and unrealistic. And we experience that when we're practicing with affirmation things too, right? You know, the first couple times that you say something to yourself, you feel like you're a complete whack job, or that there's absolutely no way this will happen. But 3 days in, a week in, 2 weeks in, it's like, oh, wow. And then a month later, you're like, oh, I actually believe that. And there's a little bit of confidence behind it. You keep building on that. A year later, you're building and breaking habits that you didn't even think were possible. And you're in situations and receiving opportunities that had never even crossed your mind before. So there is a lot of positivity here, guys. So just really keep it up. And I'm sending you good vibes all along the way. So let's get into our summer food guide now. This is a really exciting one. I took a lot of time in the last few months, well actually in the last year, to make all of my menus for this year. But I probably went through like over 40 books alone, let alone blogs and everything else, and of course creating and experimenting with these recipes. And I categorized them all into the different seasons. So the Summer Love ebook that I put together, you can find it on the group. You can of course DM me too, and I'll get you a copy. And it goes through some of our favorite summer recipes, the ones that we did experiment with, the ones that we named and revamped to make super healthy and nutrient dense and still taste really good and be simple for you to cook. And I gave you a bunch of my favorites there. I also did the same for remedies. So there's, I'm pretty sure, Pretty Plantain oil in there, of course, which is a beauty enhancer. I put in mosquito repellent, mosquito like afterbite, and I put in, I think, sunscreen. I could be wrong, but check it out. There is a lot of good stuff in there. I did make a sunscreen video though, so if it's not in the book, you can still find it. It is available for free. What are some other things I want to talk about? Oh yes, so on the guide I also I put some foraging tips. So for the foraging tips, I just talked about like some wild foods that are like really common that you can get close to you, probably anywhere. A lot of them are so common that I can even find them living in the city along the path or in the side of the sidewalk and things like that. So you know, free food is all around you guys. I'm not saying go pick it out of the cracks of the sidewalks, but do keep an eye and try to have that awareness and have fun with it and just see, you know, what is that? It's not all just green, you know, there's a purpose for all of it. It's there for a reason, and it's quite beautiful and freeing to know that there is abundance all around you. You're never without. You're always divinely supported, protected, and can be nourished if you put that power back in your own hands. All right, you guys, I love you all so much, and I will see you again, I think, next week. All right.